3 trading setups which can make you over 100% each. 3 trading setups which I will most likely take inside of the Elite program, and 3 trading setups which are absolutely according to my rules. Of course, I cannot share the exact details with you, but what I can share are the setups, why I'm looking to take them, and potential profit targets. Setup number 1, and I think you already guessed it, is on Apple. If we're starting right here, as you know, I'm only looking at the chart. I'm not looking at news, and I'm looking at the higher time frames. If we're starting right here on the higher time frames on Apple, the setup which I'm looking for is basically a very simple channel continuation, trend continuation setup. What you can see is that on Apple we have the same pattern over and over again. We do have breaks above the previous all-time high, followed by a retest continuation higher. Break above the previous all-time high, we had a perfect retracement all the way back in 2022 to this beautiful cross support at this $130 level. You can see this was a bunch of previous resistance in the past, and of course after the break it's turned support. We had sufficient bullish confirmation on the smaller time frame, and this recent move towards the upside was quite expected. The setup which I'm looking for right now is once again a break above this previous all-time high, followed by a retest. You can see we had previous resistance sitting exactly at this $170 level. After the break, it's of course turned support. You can see we're once again having a cross support with the channel, with the support zone, and I'm just waiting for more bullish confirmation on the smaller time frames, and then we will most likely take a long position inside of the Elite program. Potential targets, you can see we have been trading in this parallel channel for quite some time. Technically speaking, it's the top of the channel, which means that we could have another move of plus 70%. I'm first of all just targeting new all-time highs. If you're playing this with options or just generally speaking leveraged products, you can easily make over 100% on this single trade on Apple. Second setup is actually on MSFT, so Microsoft. And the setup which I'm looking for right here is even better than the setup on Apple. What am I looking for? You can see that all the way back in 2019, Microsoft started creating this very bullish trend line. We had a first rejection, then with the COVID quick spike towards the downside, a second rejection, and then beginning of 2023, a third rejection. Also right here, we had beautiful bullish confirmation on the smaller time frames exactly at this $220 level. You can also see this was the previous all-time high. Beautiful break followed by a retest, continuation higher. It's that simple. Recently, just actually 4 months ago, we saw a rejection away from this previous resistance level, which was exactly at this $350 area. You can see we had previous resistance. It was turned resistance a second time. We had a short-term rejection towards the downside, but then we saw the breakout. And if I remove this support and resistance level, you can see that this is a textbook triangle formation with the rising support trend line, this resistance level, and the breakout. And as you know, previous resistance after we break it towards the upside is turned support. So what I'm waiting for on Microsoft is a retracement back to this previous resistance, followed by some bullish confirmation on the smaller time frames, and then we will simply take a long position and are trying to capitalize on this rejection towards the upside. Potential targets, very simple. You're simply taking this level right here, pulling it towards the upside, and then you can see we do have a move of potentially 80% towards the upside. Keep in mind, this is very important. I'm looking at the monthly time frame, so it might take 1, 2, or even 3 years for this setup to play out. But if the stock just makes 80%, you're having a 5x leverage, you're making 400% in this position. Absolutely fine, and I want to be patient, but I also want big profits. And setup number 3 is on the good old Tesla stock. What you can see on Tesla, it's also very simple. It's kind of the same pattern as on Microsoft, because it actually also is a triangle, a potential triangle breakout. First of all, you can see that we do have our horizontal support level exactly at this $120 level. You can see we had a bunch of previous support in the past a first time, a bunch of previous support in the past a second time, with bullish confirmation on the smaller time frames. From here we saw a beautiful pump of 100% towards the upside, but then Tesla retested this major bearish trend line. You can see that in the past we had resistance a first time, we then had resistance a second time, a third time rejecting towards the downside, and just recently a bunch of resistance once again. This is still turned resistance, and you can see that with this month's candle it seems like we are starting another rejection towards the downside. You can also see that we do have this major structure zone exactly at this psychological $200 level. This was turned support a first time, then it was short-term support a second time. After the break towards the downside, it was then of course turned resistance, and with the break back above this level, it was once again turned support. There is certainly the possibility that Tesla will break below this $200 level, but as I mentioned, this is a potential triangle breakout setup, so what I'm waiting for is simply a breakout above this bearish trend line. Then I'm waiting for some short-term pullback, and of course again bullish confirmation on the smaller time frame. And if this sets up, and only if this sets up, we will take a long position inside of the Elite program with our first targets at the previous all-time high. It's literally that simple. If you want to follow along with all the trades I'm taking on a day-to-day basis, feel free to check out the first link in the description. You will then see the website, and you can either join the Elite Trader program or sign up for my free trading newsletter. If you have any questions, you can always ask them in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next week. Keep your long-term vision.